distance. He's going for speed. She's all alone in her time of need. Because he's racing and racing.
Welcome to this clinically pressed short on the drive home. This seemed to be a good time, especially with a move out a little further away. I got some time for some more podcasts and some more podcasting. So we thought it would be a good idea to maybe start a little series on this because it just tends to work out well. That being said, listening to a really interesting podcast through On It. I believe it's a human performance podcast. I'll double check that and get it in the description. And they were talking about electromagnetic fields, and the guy that was being interviewed is researching that as a topic and just really diving into the science behind it. And so when they were talking about it, it was really focused on cell phones, Wi-Fi routers, and those were the main things that they paid attention to. And it was really interesting to hear him talk about how the guidelines for safety when it comes to our cell phones are extremely outdated in like the fact that they're 20 years old, and obviously cell phones have evolved just a little bit over the course of that 20 years. But also when they were testing them and how especially hot it would get in terms of like the heating and the radiation and what it would do to your brain, it was done with a 6'2", 250-pound male, and also held some distance, and I don't remember it was millimeters, but it was a distance away from their ear. So not many of us, when we're holding our cell phone and talking on it without it being on speakerphone, are doing so with a distance from our ear. So that was really interesting, just to talk about some of the little things that can make a big difference in your health. The suggestions were basically to try and hardwire a headset with a microphone because there is some still potential issues with Bluetooth, and that brings on a whole other conversation. As we're just basically in a huge discussion currently about, and discussion / experiment, because we don't know how this is going to make us respond in 20 years, in 30 years, or throughout our lifetime. And so we're really just kind of winging it, for lack of a better description, and hoping that everything's safe. And so that was kind of eye-opening, which is kind of funny because this is now probably going to be playing over your Bluetooth through your car, which is what we do with all our podcasts. But also just trying to keep your phone generally away from you and your ear, and even your private areas per what the radiation could be doing with it being on. The other one was Wi-Fi routers, which was also really interesting, and one I had never thought about directly, but how some of those little things can really maybe have a profound effect on your sleep. And so this guy was talking about an experience he had and looking at the electromagnetic frequency, actually measuring it coming out of a Wi-Fi router when he was at a hotel, and they put the router underneath the bed, and the amount that was coming out, and it was significant. And he didn't run a very controlled experiment, but he's almost certain that it would have messed with him. And so the ideas he had there were to get it as far away from where you sleep in your house, and that's just going to help prevent as the strength of it as it's coming out. So for me personally, we have it down in the office underneath our bedroom, so we're through layers, but I don't know that that's going to be good enough. And so the other idea, which is simple, is basically put it on a timer that you can basically have it on from the time you're going to wake up, and then have it turn off around typically when you go to bed. Obviously that could change from time to time, but those timers are very easy to use. So you actually turn the modem and the router off during the evening and see how that affects your sleep. It's one that I'm really curious in, and going to be looking at a sleep tracker if I can find one that's not $400, to see how well that might help in terms of getting a better quality of sleep if it is something that's really bothering you. The other one with your cell phone is try and get it away from you if you feel the need to have it on all night, in case it's important call or text or something like that. For me personally, unless it's an emergency, I don't have almost any reason to have anybody get a hold of me in the middle of the night, and so I will put on airplane mode, which turns off the Bluetooth and the Wi-Fi. The alarm still works, and then I flip that back on in the morning, and so far I haven't missed anything, but I think I'm going to give all that a try again to see how it helps me react and see if I can get in a better state of sleep. Again, it's something that's interesting, but it's a small thing that could potentially have a significant impact in your life in terms of how your health responds to something that's that small but is such a huge part of your life. I will definitely put a link to the episode I was listening to. They got into more detail on hard lines and Ethernet cables and telephones and things like that. It was very, very interesting, so I highly recommend checking that out. And until then, enjoy your drive as we're enjoying ours on this rainy day in La Crosse, and we'll talk to you guys later.